Hello 2S Nation, and welcome back to your fifth installment of 2S Giants, where we continue to highlight members in our community making a positive impact. Today I have a very special guest and I'm very excited to share with you. They currently serve as a material management flight chief at the 6th LRS, MacDill Air Force Base, Florida. They have a very unique experience and wide variety of skills, to include working in CENTCOM, QA, and equipment, just to share a few. Some of their previous assignments include Mildenhall, Luke Air Force Base, and 2 deployments, one to Kuwait and one to Iraq. Some of their most recent accomplishments include a line number for Senior Master Sergeant, congratulations to you, and Senior NCO of the Year. Without further ado, it is an absolute honor and pleasure. Please help me welcome Senior Master Sergeant Select Shane Baldwin. All right, Senior, let's jump right into it. Please tell us a little bit about yourself.
How you doing, material managers? My name is Master Sergeant Baldwin, and I'm here today to give some pointers on some career advice or some leadership guidance. And so I'm coming to you from MacDill Air Force Base, Tampa, Florida. I'm currently the flight chief, specifically overseeing asset management. I've been at MacDill for going on 7 years. Well, actually 7 years. 3 of those years I had the opportunity to spend in United States CENTCOM. So I've been at the squadron flight for about 4 years in between. So before we get started, I wanted to give a shout out to our Facebook page in general. It is super awesome. I love this opportunity to be able to get on there and see some material manager questions from around the whole globe. So this is a great opportunity to speak to you guys. A little bit about myself. I've been in the military for just hit 15 years. I made Senior Master Sergeant this past cycle, so I'm waiting to sew that on. That drew an assignment, so I'll be going to Ramstein here very shortly. Looking forward to that adventure. My wife is also active duty. She's also a 2S Master Sergeant, and I'll speak on that here in a little bit. But in the meantime, thank you for this opportunity, and looking forward to the remainder 2S Giants coming in and giving their inputs and leadership advice and guidance as well.
It's great to have you on here. Thank you for sharing. I'm very excited to get into this interview, so we'll jump to our next question. What is your favorite quote and why?
I have a lot of favorite quotes. There's a lot of good authors out there, a lot of good motivational speakers out there. But one of my favorite quotes comes from John Maxwell. John Maxwell says, "A leader is one who knows the way, goes the way, and shows the way." And I feel like this is very important because, sometimes people are in positions, but they're not even able to know how they got there. Besides for military sake, maybe they passed a test, maybe they, had a couple good records or whatnot. But as a good leader, you must be able to know how you got there, show your team how you got there, show them what it takes to get there, right? And then go there, right? We must be able to get out from our desk when we've reached a certain point and show our team that we can do what they do. We've done what they've done. It's very important. This all comes back to constructive relationships. This is what amounts to mission success. Good leaders know how to lead up, they know how to lead down, and they know how to lead across. And this is very important because, when you get put into a leadership position, you are expected to lead your subordinates and lead folks underneath you, right? And this is military talk, right? We know how that works. However, there's something about being able to lead across, being able to lead our peers, being able to lead up, right? And there's something about being able to be humble enough to accept leadership from others. Just because you may be the leader or the person that has the highest rank doesn't mean other people can't lead you. Other people can't lead you that are lower ranking than you, right? An A1C could essentially lead you in something. Right? Everybody has qualities that they are capable of sharing, and leadership is one of them. Just because, they're not a certain rank, don't mean they can't lead. There's something about being able to be humble enough to accept leadership from somebody else. You may be leading them, but they may also be leading you. So being a good follower, right? Knowing the way, going the way, and showing the way. Very important in leadership, right? Setting an example, one of the main things to set the example as a leader is being able to motivate a team, right? We can't just sit and talk about it. It's not about just our words, but it's also about our actions. How are we motivating them? We can talk all day on what they can do and how they can do it, but we need to show them as well. We need to get out there. We need to show them how the whole airman concept, how to meet those targets by actually showing them what we do, setting that example, right? Um, we need to encourage our airmen to not just do the job because they're expected to do the job, because they want to do the job. Motivate them to have pride to come in and do the job, to be a good leader. We must be able to humble ourselves to accept the fact that we can fail as well. And there's probably many days that we fail in certain things, and we need to learn from our failures. Show the airmen the way of being a leader by accepting responsibility when we fail, showing them how to accept failure, learn from failure, and grow from failure. Um, Again, this all ties back into knowing the way, going the way, and showing the way.
Woo, you brought the heat here. So many nuggets dropped. Just to name a few right off the bat was showing what it takes and knowing how you got there. And sometimes as leaders, we are so guilty of not passing down that knowledge and that information. I've been fortunate that I've had leaders that really pulled me under their wing and didn't just leave me in the warehouse and just leave me doing the work. They explained it, they showed me, I learned from them, I was able to absorb from them, and that really helped me out a lot. Another thing that you talked about was leading up and across and up and down and being humble enough to accept leadership from others. I'm seeing more and more of that today, especially with this new generation coming in. I'm learning a lot from them, and my goal is to just be a sponge and ask those questions and learn, and it's been really helpful. So I can go on and on and on about this, just this one segment in itself, all the nuggets that you dropped, but I got to get to the next question. All right, two-part question. What motivates you, and what are the advantages and disadvantages of being a mill-to-mill couple?
So what motivates me? Well, I kind of talked on that a minute ago, but besides God, my wife, this trickles into the advantage of being in a mill-to-mill relationship. My wife and I, we've been married for 10 years, been together a little longer than that, but we have heard the meaning of having a wingman. Let me be upfront with you. My wife is my wing woman. We have a wonderful relationship. We have 3 beautiful children, and we have been in the military roughly about the same amount of time. Like I said, I just hit my 15-year mark, and she's coming up on her 14-year mark. So I got her by a little over a year. We are both 2 S's, like I said. My wife is a Master Sergeant. I'm a Senior Master Sergeant Select. And she motivates me every day to keep pressing on when times get tough. She challenges me to be better every day, not only from a professional stance, but also from a personal stance. Having a military spouse, especially in the same career field, has a lot of advantages. We have been able to go home and discuss certain topics related to work, run things past one another, use each other's knowledge in certain areas, and most importantly, we can relate to one another. We understand the military way. Not only just the military way, but we understand the supply part of the military, the LRS piece of it, right? We understand EPRs. We understand disciplinary actions. We understand late nights. We understand weekend duty. We understand what comes with deployments and TDYs and schoolings and progression and success and being there for our teammates. And we understand all that, so we can speak on that with each other. Right? We understand each other's jobs. We understand that we can go back and forth with each other on certain things. If I have a question and I'm not familiar with something, I can call my wife and ask her, and vice versa, right? So we pick each other up when we're tired and times are tough and we're ready to give up. We're there for each other. However, where all that's concerned, there are some disadvantages. Sometimes being mill to mill within the same AFSC can become very challenging. The more rank you make, the less likely you are to work in the same area. We have been fortunate enough to be stationed together at every base, but there has been other people who weren't so successful, where because of certain rank and certain situations, people get separated. When exercise deployments and things like that come up, sometimes we can find ourselves in a little bind, and it can become stressful because we're looking for ways to we have children, so we have to have daycare. We have challenges on what shifts we're going to work, when we're going to see each other, and those types of things. So those are very challenging. Working towards promotion has been challenging. Although I made senior, and she'll go up for senior in the next year. In the past, there has been times we were in the same flight, in the same squadron, where we're kind of kind of competing against one another in a sense, to get those must promotes and those promote nows. So sometimes that can become challenging when you're competing against your spouse, right? We have to sit down and say, okay, whose turn is it? Sometimes we can't both volunteer for a certain thing. We can't both go out on weekends or stay late at work. We have a family to take care of. So sometimes one of us have to take a knee while the other one is successful, and then the other one will take the turns. But in general, that can be a disadvantage, right? Sometimes we would like to do the same things, but again, because we have a family, we have to take turns, and that is a disadvantage. However, overall, I believe having a military spouse, especially in the same career field, has more advantages than disadvantages. We love having each other not only as husband and wife, but also as best friends. She's my mentor, I'm her mentor, and we are also each other's wingman and woman. So I'm not by any means telling anybody to go find a spouse within the supply career field, if you're a supplier, whatever. But if it happens, it does have its advantages and disadvantages. And advantages definitely outweigh the disadvantages.
Such great perspective here. I really appreciate that you talked about your spouse being your teammate and your wingman. That is awesome that you guys can feed off each other and share some thoughts, and just be able to have that advantage of picking each other's brain. And I always say 2 heads are better than 1, and what better way than to have 2 supply people. I think that's just awesome. And thank you for being transparent and sharing some of the unique challenges that you face. We do have those out there that are watching, that are mill to mill, and we appreciate you being able to shed light on that balance, and you too are an example that it can work. So thank you for sharing. All right, next question. What advice would you give to a tech schooler entering the operational Air Force?
But one thing that I think is most important to give them advice about is relating to gossip, right? I explained to airmen that gossip is a negative motive about someone or something that allows and makes the speaker feel more superior. It has a negative vibe, and if you hear it or start to catch yourself getting caught up in it, you should stop and change the subject. Do not whisper in the presence of others. Even if you're not talking about that person, the perception could affect somebody else and making them feel like you're talking about them. Defend the subject. When you hear other people talking about people who aren't around negative, shut the conversation down. Have the courage to say, hey, maybe, we shouldn't talk about this person when they're not here. But if you just don't want confrontation, some people don't feel comfortable doing that, then just leave the conversation, remove yourself from the situation. I definitely will give them the advice to not be afraid to speak up. Do not get caught up in the gossip. It's a big deal. It's a big deal in our Air Force. It's a big deal to that people just, I haven't figured it out yet, but just have this thing about talking about people when they're not around, right? It's okay to talk about people who, the positive aspects of people and what they're doing to be successful and their accomplishments and those things. But when the conversation gets negative, all that's doing is allowing the speaker to feel superior or feel important to talk about somebody else, and allow that negative vibe to get spread. So gossip is a big deal that I immediately hit on when new airmen come in. Another thing I speak on to tell the airmen to ignore, ignore advice from others, is regarding people talking about other people, or people talking, giving advice on somebody else. Meaning that people, meaning meet people yourself and give everyone an opportunity. Sometimes people are quick to immediately have a perception of someone based on someone else's belief or issues that that person may have with that other person. Just because one person does not have a good relationship with another person does not mean that you cannot have a good relationship with that person. In other words, build your own opinions and relationships. Don't allow gossip and other people's opinions or advice determine your perception. It is good to listen to people. It is good to hear and grab the nuggets from each person, right? But I inform them all the time that they have to grab the positives from people and just disregard the negatives, right? If you're sitting in a situation as a new airman and somebody starts talking about somebody in your office, right? That's gossip. If it's negative, shut it down. If you just come into the military and you're sitting in an office and somebody's like, okay, well, so and so is this and that, shut it down and don't have a perception of that person because somebody else's perception or somebody else's issues. There's a lot of people who don't get along, a lot of people who, don't like certain people. But we all do this. We all get caught up in this. We all know when we have a new inbound person coming in, and maybe it's a senior leader or somebody in the junior NCO tier, we're asking around, and, the career field's small, so it's easy to know, oh, so-and-so might know somebody. Then immediately you're asking the person, well, what do you think about this guy? Or what do you think about this lady? And we start building opinions, or we start judging this person because of other people's thoughts and other people's interactions or relationships. We have to be able to build that our own perception of that person by allowing them allowing a relationship, connecting with that person, because what this person feels might be completely different.
I 100% agree. Shut down the negative conversation and gossip. We should be setting the example no matter what rank you are. All right, last question. What habit has improved your life within the last 5 years?
So, over the last 5 years, I became a follower of Christ. I decided to completely fill the spiritual pillar that we've learned about and surrender my life to God. Since changing my belief in my life completely, I have found peace and joy in what I do every day. I have found purpose in what I do and hope in the Lord when times get rough. Having faith and trusting in something bigger than me and then myself has helped me not only spiritually, but also mentally. There's a lot of times, a lot of days that go by that things can get very stressful. But having that faith background and faith in God that everything's going to be okay and things are going to get better and there's a purpose for your life has drastically changed my life, has helped me be a better leader, a better person, a better husband, a father, being a believer in God and not only checking the box on a Sunday, but authentically living as an example of Christ every day by taking up my own cross and dying to the supremacy of ourselves every day, probably many times in a day, right? And with that, some people understand and believe in the Lord, and others don't know where they're at with that. But what I can say and what I can recommend to people is try it. Try it if you don't know about it, right? Give it an opportunity. Things in life, we can get back and we can complain all day long about our jobs, about the leadership, about people in general, and things, but make a difference. Make a difference. How you make a difference? Find your purpose in life, right? Envy cannot bear to admire or respect. It cannot bear to be grateful. So a wonderful way to thwart the self is to admire and be grateful. Pray for people who are in a better situation than you are, who are more gifted than you are, or who currently have wonderful circumstances coming their way. Instead of being negative, why don't we rejoice with those who rejoice? Pray for someone else's promotion, for someone else's pregnancy, for someone's retirement, for something good in somebody else, right? For somebody else's healing. That's what crucifies envy. Make no room for offense. Cultivate admiration. Cheer people on to have a wonderful life. Praise God for them. Make it personal. Easy acts of kindness. Pray for someone's success. And do not be negative all the time. Say goodbye to yourself and allow God to fill you internally and allow you to be, more loving and helping and caring, right? Who cares if people are different? Everybody is different. Everybody has different backgrounds. Not everybody's the same. People are from all over our world, actually. In this military, especially, it's so diverse. We have to pray for people. We have to love on people. We have to care about them. We have to care about their ideas and their ways. When we're on social media and we're scrolling through things, and people are posting things that, are going good in their life, whether you like it or not, why don't you sit back and pray for them and thank God for giving them, whatever it is that they're rejoicing about. This is what has changed my life. It has helped me be a better person. It has taken away anger issues. It has taken away anxiety. It has taken away stress, depression, and all of that. Because I have put my trust in God. God has blessed me. God has helped me be more successful. He has given me more responsibility and more of a reach to people by following His word and doing what's matter based on what God wants and not what I want. But that is all I have. I thank you guys so much for the opportunity. And I look forward to hearing future 2S Giants come in here and provide some mentorship and some guidance to the 2S community. This is a great thing we got going. I appreciate it, and thank you so much.
That's all we have for today, team. I want to send a special thanks to Senior Baldwin for taking the time to share his thoughts with us, and to his wife as well, who continues to serve as a 2S. Good luck to the both of you as you continue to succeed and progress. Thank you both. And to all the 2S's who continue to watch, share, support, and send your feedback, we appreciate it. And we see you grinding it out there in the world. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next time on 2S Giants.